Is your combi boiler ready for winter? Well, if you watch this video, hopefully you will get some tips what you can do to make sure your boiler is ready for winter, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't let you down over these cold winter months. So, let's get on with it. Now, first easy check you can do is make sure your boiler is at the correct pressure. Now, depending on the size of your system and the size of your boiler will be dependent on what pressure you set it at. Now, for this system here, it's a terraced house, we're looking just around about 1 bar. So we're at 0.8, so I'm going to top it up. So, first thing I need to do is find the filling loop, which is down here, and I can top it up. Now, underneath the boiler, there is the filling loop. You need to check your manufacturer's instructions on how you need to fill your system up. But for mine, it's just a matter of opening a valve here. And opening this other valve here till I read 1 bar on the gauge. So that's filling up to 1 bar. And while we're at the boiler, why don't you have a good look round underneath and make sure there is no leaks whatsoever. Because if you don't go in the cupboard very often, you might not see any drips what have occurred. Looks all good so far. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the central heating system on, and then I'm going to go around all the radiators and check at the bottom of the radiators and the top of the radiators to make sure they're hot. Now, if they're cold at the top and hot at the bottom, they'll need bleeding. So let's get round to all the radiators and see what we find. Also, while you're checking your radiators are warm at the top and warm at the bottom, just make sure none of the pipework is damaged or leaking, and that the radiators are in good condition and not leaking. Also, just check down the back of the radiators and make sure they're not blocked, so the radiators will work efficiently. So I've been around to all the radiators in the house, and the only one I've found where it's warm at the bottom and cold at the top is this towel rad. So I'm going to get my little bleed key, a little bit of tissue, and bleed the radiator. You can hear the air coming out. So finally got that bled. All I've got to do now is go back down to the boiler and make sure I don't have to top it back up again. And if I do, I just need to top it back up. Now it's dropped down to 0.9, so I need to top it back up again. And there we go. That's now gone round, bled all the radiators, topped the water back up again. And that's the first thing we've done. Now, if you also have a magnetic filter, why not check it yourself? You don't need to be a gas engineer to do this. So isolate the 2 valves and make sure they are off before you take the lid off. Then using your bleed key, open the vent at the top and make sure the water stops running out to make sure you've turned off the valves. Then, using the key provided, undo the top off the filter to expose the magnet, and hopefully you don't find any magnetite on the filter. But in this case you can see there's lots of magnetite on here. All you've got to do now is remove the plastic sheath off the magnet and clean off the magnetite. Then check inside the bowl to make sure it's clean. And then you can add some more inhibitor and reassemble in reverse order. Now, let's go outside and have a look and see if there's anything there we need to check. So, does your condensate pipe for your boiler look like this on the outside? Or does it look like this? Well, if it looks like the one what you've just seen, basically that's completely wrong. So, to get your condensate pipe to the right regulations into the manufacturer's instructions for the boiler, we need to insulate the pipe, and the pipe needs to be a minimum of 32 millimeters. Now, this is made by a company called Condensate Pro, and I've done a full video on installing this, and I'll leave a link in the comment section down below and the description. So, if your condensate pipe isn't insulated, you need to get it insulated to stop it freezing when we've got this cold weather, because if your boiler now is set at a lower flow temperature, this is going to condensate more and put more water down this pipe, which gives you even more chance of freezing. Also, while we're here, just check your blow-off discharge or your safety discharge pipe, and make sure there's no water running here. Check it when it's not running your boiler, so when it's cold, but also check it when it has been running, because if your expansion vessel is gone, you will get water coming out of here. So, things to check outside: make sure your condensate pipe is insulated, and make sure your safety valve discharge point is not dripping. Also, while you're outside, while your boiler is running, just check and make sure the flue for the boiler is working correctly and it's not blocked by any leaves or trees or any foreign debris. Now, while you're at the radiators bleeding them, just make sure your thermostatic radiator valves are set at the right temperature. Now, because we have the room stat in this room, the living room, we always have this stat set at 5. And we have 3 in the bedroom, and we have 4 in the kitchen dining room. So, while you're checking, why not check again? Now, another thing to check, which not a lot of people do, is the battery level in your RF room stat, if you've got one. So if you do have a battery operated stat, check whether they need to be changed, and I would always change them every year. Now, in here we actually use rechargeable batteries for ours, so it's just 2 AA rechargeable batteries, and we just charge them when we need to and swap them around when we need to. But always change your batteries every year, whether you need to or whether you're not, because if your batteries go flat on your stat, your heating ain't going to be working. Now, hopefully you've been able to follow these few short tips, but my advice to you will always be, get your boiler serviced before winter. So August, September time, get your gas engineer in and get your boiler serviced, and then hopefully he or she will go around and do all these checks for you in the service. So hopefully you've liked the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.